Greetings, human. I am a professional, caring, driven, experienced, ambitious leader with over 10 years of professional technical consulting, and I will be sharing with you my practice of technical consulting. We'll begin by ways of introduction, followed by the approach of technical consulting, and how to have successful meetings, and afterwards, the technical delivery and the conclusion. So, what about the introduction? Well, when we're first introducing ourselves, it's good to look at the person in the eyes and smile, and also shake hands and sincerely ask how they are doing. Remember the person's name, and you should be good to go for your introduction. So let's talk about the technical consulting approach. The foundation of the approach when doing technical consulting is not to be afraid to be vulnerable, being able to communicate openly good and bad news, and using the naked approach by Patrick Lencioni, which is to be transparent and always consult instead of sell. When you go in a meeting with the idea that you're going to find a way to help the client in a meaningful way is better than just trying to sell or upsell a product. And so, at the trunk of the technical consulting is the approach of active listening. So, basically, we do provide services for people, not for tools. Tools are made for people, people are not made for tools. Instead of collaborating to help during contract, we should be engaging ideas and engaging the client and being part of the solution. And we should question everything. And at the Customer Experience Edge book, we do say that customers don't need to listen to you, you need to listen to your customers and incorporate those new insights into your processes. So we need to accommodate for the client, not the other way around. The client should not accommodate to our limitations. And so ultimately, at the peak of the technical consulting approach is the proposition. So always giving option to a client rather than saying we must do this, we must do that. We should always give a proposition in a format of a proposition to give options to the client. And mentioning people involved in the proposition is good as people build a tool. People will want to know who worked on what. And it's good to apply faults to the team and not to someone in particular. So whenever there's an issue with a deliverable, the fault should always go to the team rather than someone in particular. And we must take ownership of what's appropriate. And so, to resume the technical consulting approach, we do have the naked communication at the base of our approach pyramid. So that means being transparent and vulnerable to the client, always communicating truth rather than the hard truth rather than lies. And we need to have active listening at the trunk to really understand the customer's frustrations and being able to engage them into a solution. And for the solution, always give a proposition rather than just saying we should do or this and that. Always propose the best options to your client. And when it comes to meeting in technical consulting, we should have a daily check-in, a progress and milestones meeting as well, and there should also be at the end of the project a lessons learned meeting. Let's go into details into what those are. And so at the beginning of the day or at the end of each day, there should be a meeting called the daily check-in, which is basically a scrum of what did I work the day before, what will I be working on today, and are there any milestones. And if someone ever tell you that no news is good news, that would be a bad idea. You should always plan the best you can for the worst that can happen. It's kind of Murphy's Law. Always plan for the worst, even though it can come up to the best. And the second type of meeting would be the progress and milestones report. That should be 30 minutes every week, and we should be talking about what we've completed versus the target. Are we on track? Is there any milestones foreseen ahead? If there is a showstopper, this is not the moment to tell the project manager, or it's not the moment to raise that. The flags should be raised directly at the scrum, the daily scrum that we have 5 minutes every day. That was a meeting before. And whether you're using Agile or Waterfall, in both methodologies, we should always take a step back and verify where we are and where we need to go and adjust a course of actions in order to proceed. And at the end of the project, there is the lessons learned meeting, which is sort of the cherry on the cupcake. There is a 1 hour at the end or at the quarter of the project of what went well and deserves recognition. What can we improve in the future, and would you recommend our services and why? It's important to have this discussion with the client and another one internally as well, in order to gather successful feedback on the project. And so to resume, do a daily check-in every day, 5 minutes. Beginning of the day would be the most optimal check-in. And then the progress and milestones, doing that every week and preferably at the end of the week. And then the lessons learned at the end of the project or at the quarter of the project. Regardless of the application that we're developing for the client, there will be an application, there will be data, and there will be DevOps monitoring utilities, and there's also business tools that will be used. So all deliverables should be kept in the format of a release version or a backup format in order to proceed with a fail-safe process. So that means that if something goes wrong, we have a way of reverting to an older version and everything would be left intact and the state would not be corrupt. Apps should be in version control, so whether that be Git, SVN, or Mercurial, everything should be kept within a versioning system to prevent files from being corrupted or an environment to have bad files. Data should be stored in SQL files and archived or save files in folders from a NoSQL database, whether it be relational or non-relational data, it should be backed up. DevOps utilities should be in place for managed services to provide ongoing maintenance and receive alerts in case anything goes wrong. And business tools should be in place to facilitate the client tasks. And last but not least, documentation. Documentation and documentation. From architecture to usability to comments in the code or commits within the versioning system, everything should be documented. And this concludes our tech talk on technical consulting. Thanks for watching and happy consulting. And that's it.